Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Dare to Be Fearless. I'm your host, Alexa Curtis, and today I've got a very interesting business episode. Before I get into it, I've got a custom Chief Swag Officer microphone cover and hoodie up on our website, chiefswagofficer.com. We're sold on Amazon. We're also sold on TikTok Shop. We're sold on Instagram Shop. And then with our microphone covers, this is actually the SM7B microphone cover, but it also fits the Rode Podcaster one. I'm filming this episode at a studio in Austin, Texas, and it fit it perfectly, which I'm really excited about. So you all know that I am obsessed with side hustles and making money and different ways to make money. And so my OG best friend, Nick, and I met. How did we meet?
Fashion Week.
We met from when I was living in his girlfriend's here. So if I'm looking at the side, I'm going to laugh because do you know this story? I don't even know that she knows this story. We met, really quick spiel, because I was living in Boston and I started dating a guy from Tinder when I was like 16, and he was at Northeastern. And then I moved to New York and he went to New York, and I didn't have any friends and I didn't go to college. So they used to have these house parties. I was living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, and they were in Queens. Nick was one of the roommates, or you just came for a weekend?
We came to party with our TA at the time.
Yes. Yeah. Who now we're like still friends with, who's very happily married, and we love them both. But what I got out of that botched relationship was my absolute best friend. So we have been friends for 7+ years. We have traveled the world. Oh my God. But he hustles like I hustle, but in a different way, in his own beautiful way. So Nick, I think talk a little bit right now about what you do. Also, he had an exit from a business, which is great. And then I want to get into vending machines, because I think that's vending machines and laundromats are like a very hot topic, and I want to know everything about it.
Totally. So I'm a chemical engineer by training. So that's my background: chemical engineering, process development, really high science kind of stuff. But I realized a little while ago I didn't want to work for big pharma. It wasn't my speed. My heart wasn't in it. So I jumped more into alternative health products, basically, right? And always from, kind of the lab director formulator's perspective. But a couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to sell my company, which we did. And I moved on to be more of an advisor and investor in other businesses, right? Helping them formulate products. And most recently, I've kind of gotten into the retail side, but not, traditional retail, right? As an engineer, I think about things from like a process-oriented way, and I just want to optimize them, right? Make them as efficient as possible. And I've realized with traditional retail, there's a cap to how efficient you can be, right? You've got employees. Your employees have jobs. They have lives. They have dogs that die and grandmothers that get sick, and they got to call out on Tuesday because who knows what, right? Roofs leak, there's all this stuff that happens with landlords. If you own a business, you know what I'm talking about. It never ends. There's always something.
Always.
Your hair is always on fire. There's always an emergency. So in trying to kind of, optimize that and reduce the amount of like my time and gray hairs that I was getting, I was looking at ways to optimize and iterate, and I realized, anytime you have humans in there, we're awesome, but we're also fallible, right? And there's some big pitfalls there. So that's what led me to smart vending. Kind of cuts the humans out. It's really a very perfect system. There's no shoplifting. There's no broken items. There's no lost inventory. 100% of what you put in the kiosk gets sold. You can control the pricing, the way it's pitched, the way it's marketed, at the click of a button from your couch remotely or on an island somewhere. So that's kind of what I've gotten into lately.
Okay, so this is going to sound really weird, but like when I think of vending machines, my dad like was wrongfully convicted and put in prison when I was 7. So I grew up, and in jail they have vending machines, right? Yeah. And I think of these gnarly ghetto vending machines. But when I was in your store yesterday, your vending machine is like no jail vending machine. I mean, this is like a sexy, I want this in my house.
Yeah.
So what does that even mean in the sense of how these, I guess, machines have evolved? And then I want to know, what's the upfront investment? How much does this cost someone to start?
So what I do is smart kiosks, right? And I say that because it is separate from your traditional vending machine, which is can of Coke, bags of chips. You put in $1, it corkscrew moves, pushes a product, and it falls, right? These are smart, touchscreen, contactless payment smart kiosks, which means it's got a full, sometimes 55-inch LED screen on the front. You can play advertisements. You can put, product renders. It can be really interactive, right? And really engaging for your customers. They're not seeing the actual product, right? They're seeing a digital representation of it on a touch screen, right? And they can tap to find out more information. They can tap to go to the website or see a video or understand, hey, what are the ingredients that are in this product? Is it gluten-free? You can search by, vegan, or I want, this color kind of product, all those features, right? Totally customizable. And for the business owner, you get data, right? That's the issue with traditional vending machines is, sure, maybe you're making your money stocking it up and it's selling items, but you don't really know what's selling, when, and why, right? You just know the machine's empty and I got to go fill it. This can tell you before the machine gets empty, hey, at your current projected sales rate, you are going to run out of this SKU in 2 weeks, right? But then you can run an advertisement and maybe that item starts selling faster and it goes from 2 weeks to 3 days, right? The machine it's smart. It has an algorithm that'll help it to learn and tell you that information ahead of time so you can be more focused on your business.
So how involved, though, do you have to be? Because I really like the idea of people starting businesses that it's like residual income.
Right.
And I know people who have started these massive drop shipping businesses and literally they have to do nothing. So how involved do you have to be with the world of vending machines?
Perfect. That's a great question. So it's as involved as you want to be. And it ties in with the cost that you're talking about, right? That's kind of my job, and where I come in is to assess the client's needs, right? Figure out what you want to do, and then how much money and how involved do you want to be. If you just want to buy into one of my machines that's selling our products that's already profitable, you could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Super easy. As much money as you want to invest, you get a rev share split proportional with your investment, right? If you already have a successful business and you're like, no, I don't want no part of that. I just want to buy the machine and I'm going to do all my own branding. I'm going to do all my own stuff. I've already know what I want to do with it. I will just sell you the machine and you can have fun with it after that. It's really up to the client. And, do they want to invest a little and see how it goes? Do they want to rev share with a larger group on a machine? Do they want to buy one machine and, trial it out? Or do they want to buy 10 and just have me give them the hardware and software?
So when you do the investment into this machine, right, how soon do you start making money? And how do you know which product's going to make you money?
Yeah, it depends. I've found that alternative health products do really well. Things like cosmetics, hemp products, alternative lifestyle stuff. But I've seen, people do health foods, all kinds of things, really. It starts as soon as the machine plugs on. The key is finding a good spot, right? You want high traffic, ideally something like a transit location, like a bus stop or airport is awesome.
But can you legally you can't just buy a machine and stick it there?
No. So of course you need to work with a property owner, right?
Got it. Okay.
And that's usually the easiest way to work. Let's say you're starting with absolutely nothing. You have no money at all, right? And you don't know what to sell. Come to me and look for locations, right? Find an uncle with a bar or a cousin that has a barber shop or, your friend that you know over here, or just start hitting the pavement. Go to the places that you already go to, restaurants, the places you eat, the places you frequent, and ask, hey, have you considered smart vending as an option? And if they say no, but tell me more, or like you were saying earlier today, you're persistent and you follow up and you follow up and you follow up and you finally get the information of an owner who's like, you know what, I'm willing to consider it. I or my clients that I already have will pay for a place that has a good vending machine, a good place, right? A good restaurant with foot traffic. They will pay you to find them a location. So you don't have to have any money up front. You can just start finding locations. And I have clients that are looking for spots. We'll do a little, fit assessment. And if you find a location that works for one of my clients, you can get paid for finding it.
Can you move these machines around?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's the benefit of it.
Yeah.
And let's say, in my industry, I work with hemp products, right? Age verified products. But the legalities are different in different states, right? And they're constantly changing as they are right now in Texas. And if something were to change, you could change the products that are in there overnight, right? You haven't made that investment into a brick and mortar of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. You can change the product mix overnight and find something that's working.
Does it feel like snacks are the thing, or is it something more niche?
I do think healthy snacks are big. Exotic snacks are big. You see, like Japanese chips and that kind of thing are pretty solid. as are health foods. I think
Okay.
people want to live healthier, and they want a snack, right? That's a normal kind of human thing, but they want a snack more intentionally,
Yeah.
right? With companies that align with their values, that have good nutrition, good macros, all that kind of stuff. And with ingredients like where they know it's coming from. So I've seen a lot of expansion in kind of healthy snacks food.
I'm like so interested. So you buy this machine and you figure out where to put it, and then do I go to Whole Foods and buy the snacks? Like what?
No.
And then how does this go?
You work with someone like me that
Okay.
has established vendor relationships, and you go to a big distro, right? And distribution companies sell, in
Mm.
bulk, right? I'm
Oh.
not buying onesie twosies, right? There's no margin
You're
there.
buying like 100 graham crackers.
Exactly. You buy a case of graham
Yeah.
crackers or 10 cases of graham crackers. Or if you get to a large enough, I've got clients that have hundreds of machines,
Yeah.
right? They get a pallet, right? And a pallet may come with 102 cases,
Wild.
and each case has
Yeah.
24 units,
Yeah.
right? But you put 24 units in
Into
one
it,
machine.
Of course.
So if you got 100 machines, a pallet is
Fascinating.
perfect.
Yeah.
You put one case into every machine, and then your price, since you're buying at the pallet level directly from the manufacturer, is a fraction, right, of what a consumer pays
Yeah.
at retail. But of course, you have costs of shipping and breaking it down and paying people to go and restock the machine. But that's what I specialize in.
Do you know anything about laundromats? Because I also hear like this was a big thing on Reddit for a while.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like from Cody Sanchez. She's a smart one that's around here about kind of these old school businesses that have owners that are looking to change over. They're smart. I don't know anything about them in particular, but I definitely see the value there of kind of traditional
Yeah.
retail that isn't maybe as sexy as other things are, right? I mean, these vending machines.
The
sure,
vending machine's sexy,
they're
man.
sexy. Yeah,
I
they're
was
fun.
like, whoa, like this is really
Yeah,
sexy.
and you can brand them and stuff, but there's something to be said just, for the daily stuff that people need. There's not to say that a machine, traditional vending that has a can of Coke and a bag of chips can't work, but it's a lot better when your basket size is $100.
Yeah.
You only need a couple transactions a day there to start being profitable.
And you really think that people are willing at like a bus station or a train station to buy bougie, rich items out of a vending machine?
100%. It is a known thing.
Wow.
So 40%, I think, of Japanese retail. Japan's a highly developed
Yeah.
country. They're years ahead of us, the technology they have. And about 40% of their retail comes from some sort of vending or smart kiosk sales. I think that number's closer to 6% here in the
Fascinating.
United States. So there are developed market economies far beyond ours
Mhm.
where this is commonplace. And they're like, yeah, why wouldn't you do that,
it.
right?
Interesting. All right. Where can everyone find out more about this?
Reach out to me. Yeah. Follow you. Follow me. I'm Nick Mortellaro on all my socials
even use
and on
social
LinkedIn
media.
and the rest of it.
What's the
I'm
other
there.
Instagram you should plug?
I think the Botanic Bliss or Botanic Bliss.
You're like his little manager.
Yep.
I am.
She's like his little manager. I love you.
I'm not the marketing
I
person.
love you so much.
I just make the machines work.
I love it.
Yeah.
I now that I understand more about this, I'm like, this actually interests me more than laundromats because I feel like with laundromats you're dealing with people.
Yeah, fuck
With
that.
this, you don't need to deal with people.
Some of the newer laundromats are automated like this, and they'll have the soap thing where you like put in the money and it charges your card, and they only have like one person there whose facilities that like, I don't know, stop someone from
Yeah.
doing something crazy. But yeah, no.
No, it's sick. All right. I love you.
a lot
Thank you
better.
guys so much for tuning
Of
in.
course.
I know this was short, but I felt like this was exactly what I needed to share with you, but also I had read so much about this and whatnot. So when I saw what he
Dude,
was
these
doing,
things work. They really
I was
do.
like, what? Because I mean, who doesn't want to make money? Who doesn't want to deal with people? You don't have to really
Yeah.
do anything. It's just finding the right location.
Yeah.
That's it. And I love that. So rock
Cool.
on. That's all for today on Dare to Be Fearless. Thank you so much for tuning in. Head to the show notes if you want to find out more about my work as an entrepreneur, as well as what I've built with Chief Swag Officer. And I'll see you back next week for a new episode on Dare to Be Fearless.